Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. We are now 2 days away, everybody, from the Eagles' divisional round matchup and 1 day away from the NFL divisional round matchup kicking off. I'm your host, Zander Krause, here on Birds 365. That's my co-host, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, brother? A big playoff football.
Yeah, we're almost there, thankfully. I think it's going to be a good weekend for the Philadelphia Eagles, if I haven't hinted that during the week. I like this matchup. Not that I wouldn't have liked Minnesota as well, but I particularly like this matchup simply because I think the Rams front will be overwhelmed, defensive front. And now all the talking is almost over, and we can get to game time at some point. You know, probably something I haven't brought up too is, the Rams played on Monday night.
Right.
Enough short week for them. They had to play in Arizona because of the wildfires. They had to go back to Los Angeles. They got that short week coming all the way over to the East Coast and the weather part of it as well. So if they pull this one off, it would be something. I would say that.
You tip your cap to them, right? Well, we'll get into some of that game today. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here this morning on this Football Friday. And for those who are watching after the fact, we appreciate you checking in and watching the show. Hit that like button for us if you enjoy the program. If not, all good, but liking does help us out in a big way. And we have been crushing it on the likes here on Birds 365. So leave your comments down below if you're watching after the fact. If you're here in the live chat, leave your comments in the live chat. Hit that like button, and we will be sure to interact with you guys some today. We have a great show planned for you. In hour number 2, we have Ed Kratz, the return of Ed Kratz. He's had a busy couple of months. He's been over internationally, traveling the world. He's done a lot of things, so we'll catch up with Ed.
Got a lot of international travels. Mike Gills in Thailand. Hope he made it.
I saw Mike putting out some tweets the other day from Thailand. I was cracking up at. So we'll have Ed Kratz in hour number 2. Looking forward to talking to him, John. And let's get into this game a little bit. I know we've talked about it all week long, and obviously, but both of us feel good about it. John, yesterday I brought up let me play the other side, because I said normally on the channel, there's 3 main guys on the channel. There's me, there's you, and there's Dan Cilia. Normally on the channel, it's not an echo chamber. Normally you're thinking differently than Sills, than me, and there's a good camaraderie. There's a good conversation with differing opinions. Well, we all feel like the Eagles are going to blow the Rams out this weekend. And now I'm wondering, okay, let me play the other side of it a little bit. So, John, I will pose to you, and I still feel as though the Eagles will destroy this team just because of that trench battle that you mentioned at the start of the show today. But I will mention, I was listening to Dan Orlovsky, whether you like him or you don't like him, I get it. But he did bring up a good point about this Rams team. They're the only team left in the NFC that's got a Super Bowl coach and a Super Bowl quarterback. They're 5-1 together, that coach and quarterback combination, in playoff football since Matthew Stafford arrived in L.A. Matthew Stafford is 18 touchdowns, 3 picks, and a super high passer rating. I think it's north of 112. That's a pretty good combination. I'm not saying that that's going to be enough to overlift the Rams over the Birds. I feel like we have just the better roster, the better trenches, the better team. But if there's one way to do it, John, in the playoffs, it's with a great coach and a great quarterback. And I don't want to go to sleep on them. Hopefully the Eagles are, and it doesn't matter if we do, but it matters if the Eagles do. But just your thought on that part of the Rams and having that kind of Super Bowl pedigree and experience in the 2 most important parts of the team, and that's the coach and the quarterback.
Lazy, I would say. I've talked about Sean McVay a lot this week. I think people don't listen. I think he's a very good coach, but simply because of people like that, he's a little bit overrated because he has to be. He's been the head coach of the Rams for 8 years. They won 1 Super Bowl. That means they lost their last game 7 of those 8 years.
Right.
So I don't know what relevance that has other than people place this overriding purpose. Oh, he won a Super Bowl. And in the case of Matthew Stafford, and I'm glad I've been talking about Matthew Stafford when we started this show, and it was Jody Mack and I would talk up Matthew Stafford, how good he was, how he's viewed in the NFL. And Jody's like, he's always lost in Detroit. I'm like, you need a supporting cast to win.
Yeah.
But Matthew's been playing for 16 years. And again, I don't think too many people, you heard Vic Fangio. I always talk about people in the league. You hear Darius Slay. They're in awe of the guy. He's a great quarterback. I've always said he's a great quarterback. He's played 16 seasons. He's won 1 Super Bowl. You know, I mean, I don't know why people lean on that.
Right.
Call it low-hanging fruits. You know, again, was it Jalen Hurts a fault or Nick Sirianni's fault that they lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs? Probably not. You know, people,
well, you know, Jalen had the fumble, but I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, but I mean,
I hear you. I mean, both of them delivered the goods and had a good
exactly.
Game, so,
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't. To say I pay no mind to that type of thought process. I mean, usually I leave open the door. Like if somebody said, "Hey, is so-and-so going to go come to Philadelphia, or so-and-so going to leave Philadelphia?" I'll go 99%. You always leave the door open.
Right.
I'll go 100%. That doesn't mean a damn thing. That aspect of, oh, we won a Super Bowl and they won a Super Bowl together. It's more imposing to me that Matthew Stafford's really, really good.
Yeah, that's a better take, right?
Yeah. And you know, Sean's a good coach, but again, 7 out of 8, you know, that ain't a good batting average. And by the way, it is a good batting average because it's hard to win Super Bowls, really hard. And the assumption that, you know, I always say Bill Belichick and Tom Brady broke people's thinking to think, oh, you can do what they did it. No, you can't. No, that's never going to be replicated. And Patrick's going to make a run at it. And maybe will, but even Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, even as great as Andy Reid is, I doubt they reach that level. I doubt it because something will happen at some point. It's just the odds are against them. It's really, really hard. And to reach that top level and have that consistency is even harder than doing it 1 year. So, yeah, I would say that's low-hanging fruit, as they say. I'll take the better team, and the Eagles had the better team, and they're playing at home, and they have the longer rest, and they match up. I'll take that group, even if you don't believe in Nick Sirianni, even if you don't believe in Jalen Hurts. I'll take that group.
Yeah, now you're not dealing with somebody who hasn't been able to handle the moment in Philadelphia. Both coach and quarterback have proven that they can handle that moment. But John, you got to put some stock, in the at least the experience of getting there. I mean, we just watched Sam Darnold. You know, what did we talk about all year? Wow, 14-3, or wow, what a season for the Vikings. Let's just make sure that when the lights get bright, he plays well. Well, as you called it on Monday, an all-time stinker. I don't expect to see that from Matthew Stafford because he does have that experience and that pedigree, and maybe he's also you might just chalk it up to more talent and a better football player. But I don't.
Yeah, he's also better.
Right,
he's also better football player, and he's got more talent. So that's a big part of it as well. But you know, he's got tremendous experience. He's been in those types of situations. He was on a lot of bad teams in Detroit. So you need help. It's not quarterback versus quarterback. It's not coach versus coach. It's going to be a lot of other players contributing to what I think is going to be an Eagles win. Then that go far beyond Jalen Hurts. So I don't like boiling it down to coach and quarterback or quarterback versus quarterback. You know, we always have the Eli Manning discussion. I mean, the stars of those Super Bowls were the New York defensive front. Nobody remembers it. Nobody cares. Unfortunately. So for the people that boil it down to quarterback versus quarterback, coach versus coach, that's a big deal. I would say for the people, and Dan should know better, let's be honest. He played the game. he knows how much goes into it. He knows.
Yeah, I don't think he was saying it like the Rams are going to win the game. I think he was more saying it like, "Hey, don't go to sleep on this team." You know, like I know the
Well,
Eagles
I
are
mean,
better,
they're a
but
good team. I don't want
yeah,
to say they're not a good team. And they're on a heck of a run, and they're hot, and that's why people latch on to them, because it
right.
tends to be who gets hot at the right time. And they're the team that's gotten hot, and they're coming off this ultra impressive performance. But again, poor offensive line, injury, Darisal's not there.
Yeah.
Backup left tackle, they had to trade for him. He gave up 10 pressures, I think, Cam Robinson.
Yeah,
Awful
I think
game.
what was it, 9 sacks that they had
Yeah,
last week?
9 sacks. And you're going against the Philadelphia Eagles with Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson,
Right.
Landon Dickerson, and Mekhi Becton and Cam Jurgens and everybody. I mean, they're not getting 9 sacks. First of all, the Eagles are only going to freaking throw it 21 times. They're not getting 9 sacks. And they're going to get pushed on skates like they were the first game, where they were playing, by the way, in better conditions on a fast track, so to speak. Now they got to come to Philadelphia in mid-30s, whether the snow comes or doesn't come. It's not going to be the nicest. Could be worse, but it's not going to be the nicest atmosphere, like the pristine conditions. You don't think they're going to get put on skates with that offensive line?
Yeah, right.
I'll believe it when I see it.
There you go. The voice of reason here, Johnny Mac, breaking down this Eagles versus Rams game on a football Friday. Everybody preparing for the divisional round of the playoffs. John, not to get depressing with everybody, 11 or 12 minutes into the show today, but I'm sitting in my studio last night here. It's 8 o'clock, and I'm finishing up my work, and I turn my chair normally like I do on a Thursday night, and I click on a Thursday night football game. No matter how shitty it is, I normally click it on. Last night I came to the realization, or I guess that realization set in. We have 8 big football games left in the season, John. If you include the national championship, you have 7 NFL playoff games left. You have 4 this weekend. You'll have 2 next weekend for the conference final, and then a Super Bowl, and you'll have a national championship on Monday night. We got 8 games left, Johnny Mac. I will be watching every play of those 8 games. I'll have to rewatch the Sunday night game because we'll be on the post-game show. But 8 games left, John, on the football year.
Yeah, I'm not as depressed as you, simply because
I'm depressed.
I find the offseason so much more intriguing. I mean, but that's me. I just find it like.
No, I do find it intriguing, but I mean, like I told you, how many times have I told you I'm not a TV guy, I'm not a movie guy. So football is my TV and movies, and now it's gone. So it's gone. So I might, you know what I might do, John? I might pull a Jeff Kerr this offseason and just start going into the NFL archives and watching some old games like that.
Yeah, I'll be watching Netflix, and I'll be catching up on all that kind of stuff.
On your shows, yeah.
And WrestleMania season starts. Yeah, I don't. And to me, like, it's intriguing that the New York Jets have interviewed 33 candidates for general. Trying to prove that they're doing their due diligence. That kind of stuff is intriguing to me. So much more intriguing. To be honest. And I think it's, but I get it. I mean, people that love football want to see football games. So I get it from that perspective. But I think you're already at that point. I mean, as you mentioned on Thursday, you don't have all the games. To me, it's depressing. All right, this game stinks. I can move over to this game or this game. The standalone games are always a problem for me anyway. When you have on Sundays, when you have 10, 11 games going at the same time, even if I'm at a game following along, I could say, oh, this game's close. Let me check in on, see what's happening there. You don't get that anyway as it whittles down. So I'm already past that point where, there's so little and they're all standalone games. I'm already past that point.
No doubt. We get a good comment here from my guy, Bombay Trippy. Big Z's going to Thailand this offseason. Bombay, that's one thing I can guarantee you I will not be doing. Actually, Bombay, I might go as far as to say I might never grace Thailand in my life. Okay, Bob?
Yeah, I'm probably not.
I
gonna
love
go
you,
to
Mike
that.
Gill, but I might never step foot in Thailand in my life, and it won't bother me one iota.
Depends where your eventual wife steers you, man.
I'm
That's
telling you right now, that ain't happening. Thailand, honey, I canceled the card. Find a new location. All right.
It's beautiful there if you go to the right
You know, I
spots.
might be wrong, but I've never been a travel bug guy, John. But SMD brings up a good point too, talking about the end of the NFL season here. The NFL is entertaining all year round, free agency, the draft, OTAs, training camp. SMD, precisely what you just said is why Birds 365 exists, and we go all through the year. We do not end after the football season. We keep chugging along, so there's no doubt about that. Good stuff there. Johnny Mac, let's talk about this Kellen Moore thing real quick. I do want to get back into the game,
Yeah,
and
I
we will
wanted
do
to,
that.
but please don't use that as an excuse. I'm
Oh
not
my
talking
God.
to
That is the
you.
last thing I will be using.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
not talking to you. I'm talking to the fans. Please,
yeah, no,
I
that's not an
beg
excuse.
of you.
If anything, actually, if you're going to say it's going to be a factor, well, shit, look at Detroit. Then they're screwed.
Oh
If you're
my
saying it's
God,
gonna be a
yeah.
factor.
They got a but yeah, Detroit has got
Yeah, they got 2 coaches who are getting interviews like crazy.
and tons of interviews. I mean, it happens to every good team. It's not rare. It happens every year. People act like it doesn't happen every year. I just wrote about this last night on Sports Illustrated. You know, Nick Sirianni was talking about it a couple years ago because all the Gannon stuff and what happened there. And I'm not going to re-legislate that, but it's fucking stupid. Nick said it's fucking stupid. He's been through it. It happens to every team. He explained that it's not like it's not like you're doing like a college final and you're up all night. These guys understand. They have agents. They know they're going to get interviews. They put together this stuff if they're good candidates, if they're smart. They already have all their ducks in a row. Again, they're not sitting there focused on they're human beings. Kellen Moore maybe had to brush off the snow from his car last night. Maybe he had to pick up dinner. They're human beings. They have downtime.
Right.
There's no preparation not being done for the Los Angeles Rams. And I guarantee you, Zander, I guarantee you, if the Eagles lose before winning the Super Bowl, in other words, if they don't win the Super Bowl, there will be a bunch of fans blaming Kellen Moore getting interviews with the Cowboys and the Jags and the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, even someone on TV went back and said people are blaming the Eagles for the 22 Super Bowl on that. I mean, like,
oh my God,
happened,
yeah, it was Odd Show. I'm like, come on, dude.
I mean, come
I'm
on.
like,
well, you know, I said this too, because I said this yesterday, speaking on a different factor. People are mad at Kellen Moore. And I'm like, yo, you cannot be mad at Kellen. Think about this. How many times have we seen football teams, John, scapegoat a guy, fire a guy?
Brian Johnson.
They don't give a shit about
No.
you. Kellen Moore has an opportunity to go and get a head football coach. He's putting himself in the best spot to have a 30-year career in the NFL. He doesn't give a shit about the Eagles. You might not want to hear that, but that's the truth. And you can't knock Kellen Moore.
There is no loyalty.
Yeah, there's never going to be. I mean,
even a team as, you know, the Eagles are more continuity driven. They're not the Steelers, but they're more continuity driven than most. And, you know, they blow out people all the time when they don't, including a Super Bowl winning coach. 3 years after he won the Super Bowl, where I still tell the story all the time. I was in Minneapolis at the hotel bar with a bunch of other writers after that game. And, you know, I remember saying, well, he's got a lifetime dispensation card.
Yeah.
Winning a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Lifetime dispensation. And lasted 3 years.
Man, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Johnson, you know, there's so many scapegoating, whether it was Mike Groh, Press Taylor, if you want to go back to the Doug Peterson era. This era, you know, Brian Johnson, Sean Desai, scapegoating. That's what happens in the NFL. So, yeah, to blame any of these guys, and they all have ambition for the most part. Where you get lucky is a guy like Vic Fangio who's already done it and says, I don't want to do it anymore. So you don't have to worry about a guy like that. But that's rare to find. The Eagles had it with Jim Johnson as well, who didn't want to be a head coach. Vic doesn't want to be a head coach anymore, so they haven't had to deal with that. If you look at Detroit, I mean, everybody wanted to interview Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, both of them.
Yeah.
It is, and it's better. And Howie explained for people that were listening, it's better than the alternative, where you stink and nobody wants your coaches.
Yeah, that's so true.
And by the way, it works. If you stink and nobody wants your coaches, you fire them anyway.
Right. But if you're going to be mad at somebody, you can't be mad at Kellen Moore.
No,
it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me, the revolving door right now. And I'll tell you why. We're 15-3 right now. And you would agree, right, John, that we have a chance, not saying we're going to win. We have a chance to win the Super Bowl. You agree with that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got a first-year coordinator.
Yeah.
You got a first-year coordinator from Kellen Moore in here right now. So, look, this is the revolving door. This is part of being a good team. And if you really dislike it so bad, then be upset with the organization, because it's the way that they've chosen to go with Nick Sirianni. So, I don't have an issue with it. I'm not going to be mad at Kellen Moore about it. I will say this, John, and I'm an Eagle fan, and people will be pissed off at this element of it. Kellen Moore's in Dallas. He comes over to Philly for 1 fucking year, then he leaves to go back to Dallas. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? A division rival you come in from, and then you go right back to the division rival. People are not gonna like.
Well,
that.
He did go to the Chargers one year before, and then went to the Eagles. But Jerry Jones probably should have shown, but he doesn't, and that's why he doesn't show the courage of his convictions. He probably should have just elevated Kellen Moore at the time. But he was 34, whatever. That's very young.
Well, Stephen Jones actually, Stephen Jones talked to Cilio about this and said if Mike was going to be let go, Mike wanted autonomy. He wanted the chance to have autonomy of his offense.
Well, yeah, and he gave it. It was sort of like a Chip Kelly thing, where Jeffrey Lurie, probably his biggest mistake, he's like, well, let's give him the autonomy and see what he does with it.
Exactly.
To prove, which is dumb. But and Jeffrey will admit it was a bad decision now. But that's a dumb way to do it. If you believe in somebody, you should believe in them. And he went the other way to sort of prove that Mike McCarthy couldn't do it or whatever. And they are where they are. And ultimately, he likes headlines. I don't think he'll have the courage to hire Deion Sanders or Jason Witten. So ultimately, if you're asking me today, I would bet on Kellen Moore being the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I would go down that route too. So we'll see what ends up happening there. A couple super chats, John. We'll hit them now. Appreciate everybody for being here this morning. Like I mentioned before, don't forget to hit that like button. All right, it's Football Friday, and this is a special Football Friday. It's a divisional round of the NFL playoffs. All right, I mean we got 8 teams left, everybody in the NFL. So enjoy it here. Suo Blaze checks in. Good morning, Suo. Keith, 99 cents. What's up, brother? Thanks for being here. Thank you for the $1. Eduardo Reza checks in. Morning, gents. John Sills had an interesting segment yesterday regarding replacements if Moore were to get a head coaching gig. What are your thoughts for those 10? Now, I would assume John doesn't know the names he said, but I will ask you if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, Kevin Patullo. End of story.
You think they'll promote from within?
Yeah. I think Nick has gotten a strong foothold again. And if we're up to Nick, last year probably already be the offensive coordinator. That's his right-hand man, passing game coordinator. I think would happen pretty quickly, pretty seamlessly, to be honest.
Well, Kevin Patullo is the passing game coordinator, you said?
Yes, and the associate head coach as well.
Okay, well, passing game coordinator?
Yes.
Am I missing something here?
Well, why is Kellen Moore being a head coach?
Well, that's
same thing.
John, Jerry Jones lives in a world that what are you going to do? Jerry Jones makes decisions that sometimes.
Well, I would say, passing game coordinator and also associate head coach. He is the closest person to Nick Sirianni on this staff. He's his right-hand man. He's been his right-hand man since day one, for people that don't know. And like I said, now he has a stronger foothold in the organization again. And I think that would be enough to get it. Now, maybe Jeffrey says, no, we got to go outside the org. That's what he did last year. Which, by the way, it hasn't even worked. By the way, it hasn't even worked.
Well, that's why I'm asking about. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to hate on Kevin Patullo. I'm not about to get into a segment where we talk about the passing game all day. But I mean, we've talked about it on the show all year long. Maybe the one deficiency of this football team, it's not defense, it's not D line, it's not O line, it's not running backs, it's not wide receiver, it's the passing game. I mean, that's the one.
If you want an outside the box guy, always go to Josh McCown. You talked about the Eagles. The Eagles wanted to hire Josh as a coach straight off the field. And I remember writing at the time, they should make him offensive coordinator because they were blowing out. I forget who it was at the time. Probably Krause.
Remember, he's the one who put lipstick on the Sam Darnold pig all year.
Yeah.
Quarterback's coach in Minnesota.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna. Sam played well, but I'm not gonna go that far that he was a pig. He had a bad 2 games.
It was just an expression.
But I mean,
if big come back out though, John, when the lights got bright, Josh couldn't save him.
No, and nor could Kevin O'Connell or Wes Phillips, who's their offensive coordinator. But Josh is a guy who the Eagles probably should have hired way back then. And he still wanted to play, and he still kept playing as a backup quarterback at the time. So that complicated matters. But I always said, they wanted to start him out like, quality control, that type of thing, the old routes, and then you go to quarterbacks coach, and then you go to coordinator. And I said, if they offered him the OC job right away, he might have rethought it and said, but. Anyway, I remember writing about it at the time. So if Jeffrey forces him to go outside the organization, and he very well might in this type of situation.
Yeah, I was thinking too.
Then I know how much that organization likes Josh and respects Josh. So there's a guy I would say, and if you also think about Nick Sirianni. Unfortunately, Tommy Reese is a guy he's very close to, but he just got the OC job in Cleveland. That would have been a guy to keep an eye on. Marcus Brady, he brought in, worked with him in Indianapolis, and brought him in here.
Somebody who's got some ties to a dual threat quarterback. I want somebody that, I'm not trying to criticize Kellen, but Kellen had no experience. I mean, Kellen came from a 4,500-yard passer with Dak Prescott and then Justin Herbert, who's, obviously his skill set is his big arm. That's not Jalen Hurts' skill set. I would love to get somebody that, potentially, and maybe a quarterback coach in Baltimore or one of these guys that knows.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I bring up Brady because he was here as a consultant the same year leading up to the Super Bowl as Vic was, for the 2-week span. He was here that year. He's a former CFL quarterback, former offensive coordinator. I forget what he was doing this year, but he's a guy I would keep an eye on. But if Nick has his druthers, he just elevates Kevin Patullo. And he should be able to. So that's where I am.
Yeah, good stuff, Eduardo. Thanks for the super chat, brother. Good conversation there. I did want to talk to John about that, so happy we got the chance to do it here on this Football Friday. Alexander Harris checks in. Good morning, guys. My birthday today. Can I get me a JAKIB Sports happy birthday? Happy birthday, brother. We appreciate you being here.
Happy birthday, January 17th.
Yeah.
We got to remember that, Alexander Harris.
Alexander, I'll do my best to remember remember that birthday, but no promises. All right, brother. You might have to drop me another super chat next year on January 17th. But I appreciate you being here, brother. Happy birthday to you. Let's go get this win on Sunday. All right. Maybe that'll be the best birthday gift you can get. John, you mentioned something a little bit ago, all right, when we were talking about coach and quarterback. And, you brought up the Eli Manning Giants and some of that stuff. Well, I will ask you then coming into this divisional round game. And we will start on the offensive side of the football. I guess this answer will be easier than I anticipated before I started speaking the question. But who's going to be the MVP of this team on this playoff? We got a couple games left. If they win this week, and we all assume they're going to, or at least feel like they're going to, is it as simple as Saquon Barkley's going to take us to the promised land, or what, Joe?
Well, I think are we talking about this weekend or the entirety?
Well, I think you could talk about it as this weekend and then maybe extract.
Well, this weekend, I think, it's pretty simple. Just bully ball it into the NFC Championship game. Then it might have to change a little bit. And, you kind of hope the Pittsburgh team shows up, throwing the ball all over the place, effective. Light switch turns on, they can do it. So this week, I think it's pretty simple. Don't overthink it.
Mm-hmm.
Just go out there and beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, I saw something on X. One of our I forget who it was. Dang, I'm blanking on who it was. Oh, it was Philly Mike. I don't think you know Philly Mike, John. Philly Mike is a great YouTube channel. The Philly Talk podcast. He's excellent. But he put out a tweet, Jalen Hurts is going to have another. So this is what you were looking for game. And I'm like, Mike, no, we don't need that this game. Just run the ball with Saquon Barkley, destroy him in the trenches, and we will win this game easily. This is not a game, I believe, that we need Jalen Hurts to start throwing the ball all over the yard. I don't believe that at all. I think this is the best time to just stick to what got you here. It's actually a gift to have this team in the divisional round because of that, John. If you had to go up against a different team, you might be looking at this like, oh, geez, we're going to have to be something different or work in that passing game. And that'll be a conversation probably for next week on the show, assuming the Eagles move on. But I feel damn good about this game, man. And I don't think the Eagles should try and do anything different other than what led them on a 10-game winning streak this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I've seen no evidence that they want to move away from the way they've been playing. And why would they? I mean, they keep winning football games. So,
yeah, right.
In the Pittsburgh game, they did a pretty good job stopping Saquon, and they were able to toggle a little bit. So if by that, strange occurrence that happens, they'll have to do it. But I don't think they want to do it. I don't think they should be able to stop him. Pittsburgh had a legitimate defense. I don't think not that the Rams don't, but again, the style is different. Pittsburgh was very physical, is very physical. This is more of an undersized athletic group. The Rams, I think the style points to, as it did. I mean, in a historic season,
right,
one of 9 players in the history of this game to rush for over 2,000 yards. Saquon Barkley's best game, and he had a bunch of them, was against the Los Angeles Rams. I don't think that's a coincidence.
No doubt about it. We'll see what they do offensively in this game. I think it's pretty simple, and that's what I would expect to see in this football game. I'm happy that the Eagles went this route. I know we've talked about the passing game, and I understand that it's not ultimately what the team envisioned at the start of the year. But, John, I think we have, if you do this for another, do we have a historic offensive line? Maybe not historic, but this offensive line is so big, so beastie, and so freaking good. It just makes sense to me. Like, they just decided to ride those guys, and can we blame them?
No, but they've had this type of offensive line before. I mentioned earlier in the week, we were talking to Lane about this on Wednesday. He got asked that specific question. Is this one of the best offensive lines you've ever been on? And he's like, we had some good offensive lines. I mean, when Brooks was here, Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson on the same side, with all due respect to the season Mekhi Becton is at, he ain't Brandon Brooks, Cam Jurgens done a phenomenal job replacing a legend, but he ain't the legend. Jason, he ain't
Right.
Jason Kelsey. Even Jordan Mailata will tell you he's not Jason Peters, and Jason Peters is prime. They've had a lot of good offensive lines in the Jeff Stoutland era. A lot of good offensive lines. Now I'm trying to think. Dickerson might be the best left guard they've ever had.
Yeah, he's a beast. Did you saw his?
They've had some good ones.
I know you're not an Eagle fan, John, but you must have felt something in your blood when you watched that Landon Dickerson 20-second hype video.
No, zero.
Nothing.
Nothing.
John, I'm fired up, baby.
Nothing.
I love Landon Dickerson.
Yeah, I mean that I'm sure it's great, but yeah, that does nothing for me.
Oh, dude.
I mean, people were bringing up the hype thing about the special teams, Saquon telling whatever he told the special teams to go out there, and then all of a sudden Oren Burks, they do that every game. They hype every time they kick off, but you edit it, and here is the bubble. I mean, that's just football.
Well, no, that's different. I thought Landon was. I mean, win, lose, or draw. That was.
Landon likes to drop the F-bombs. I know that. So does Jordan. A lot of cursing going on with that offensive line.
Oh, absolutely.
I like the fact that they're all
people playoff football, baby. People dream of this shit. We some dream crushers around here, baby.
They're all good dudes, which is amazing to me. Because they're so good. Generally get big egos. No egos in that room. And I think that's a testament to guys like Kelsey and Peters. They always talk about the standard, living up to it. Lane is going to the Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned. And he's incredibly humble. You saw, what got me a little bit? Mekhi Becton being emotional about making the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, that was cool.
That kind of stuff gets me more than, Landon's a psycho and he's going to say,
don't never underestimate the value of a psycho, John. All right. That is a value.
No, it's a good thing to have on the
physical
field.
Offensive line.
I mean that in only a good way for people that don't. I mean that in a football violence way. Off the field, he's a nice guy. That's always interesting. And, you get these guys on the field and they're just killers. Yeah.
Yep, no doubt about it. Let's go to that defensive side of the ball, John. Who will be the guy that sticks out, the guy that makes the big play, the guy that is ultimately the defensive MVP of this team? And we'll stick with just the divisional round right now. But if you want, you can extrapolate and talk about the whole playoff run. But we got the Rams coming up. Who will be the defensive MVP of this game, or the defensive player that just makes a big play, makes a moment, creates a turnover, whatever it might be?
Well, the defensive MVP of this team is Zach Bond, rightfully so.
Right.
But the most important player on this team is Jalen Carter, and he has been the entire year. He's the guy everybody game plans for. He's the guy everybody tries to stop. He's the guy everybody plays off of. Milton Williams is going to make a lot of money this year, this offseason. It might be here, it might be somewhere else, but either way, he should thank Jalen Carter. Not that Milton's not a good player, because he's a really good player, but teams are so hyper focused on what they have to do to stop Jalen Carter. It creates opportunities for others. And he's the guy. The easiest way to get to any quarterback is right up the middle. And that's why all year, people are, the Eagles pass rush, the Eagles pass rush. The Eagles have one of the 2 or 3 best pass rushers in football in the entire league. But it's not conventional with the edge rusher. So think about it. I'm pulling up PFF, best pass rushers in football. Number 1, Pittsburgh, which is correct. They had a great year rushing the passer. Obviously, they had some issues offensively. They have TJ Watt, Highsmith, edge rushers. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles. Number 3, Cleveland, Myles Garrett. Number 4, Dallas, Micah Parsons. Number 5, Denver. Who's that kid who had a great year? Nick Bonito. I mean, those are your top 5 pass rushers in football. The Eagles are the only one without the splashy edge rusher.
Right.
So they do it differently. But they're really, really effective. And I can't believe people do not recognize that. Remember, the Eagles don't blitz either. 15.4%, 31st in the NFL. You talk about their pass coverage. It's easier in pass coverage when you don't have to blitz and there's only 4 guys and you can put all these guys in coverage. So for years, it was obvious when Jim Schwartz was here and he would talk about the defensive front as being the engine of his defense. It remains the engine of the Eagles defense. People just don't recognize it because it's interior. It's not the splashy edge rushers.
No doubt. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. I'm going to pick. All right. I know you kind of didn't pick one guy and you talked about the pass rush, but I'm going to stay on that pass rush. And I think Nolan Smith, after a big game last week, I think he's got a little bit more of a favorable matchup this week.
You're trying to make up for Nolan Smith, man. You were down on him. Now you got him.
I was so down, and I was open about that.
You're open about it. But now you got him like he is Micah Parsons.
Well, no, I don't. But I think he's playing red hot right now, and I think he's confident as hell. Or it's hard to get confidence in the league when you're a young player and you're not producing at the level you want. Once you find that rhythm and you find that groove and you start to almost prove to yourself that you can get there, I think Nolan's playing like a different guy right now, and I have a feeling he could go and get the football from Matthew Stafford on one of these plays.
He's having a nice run, and I kind of mentioned after watching the game, it was pretty evident that Green Bay was more focused on Josh, who, by the way, doesn't get enough credit as well, Josh Sweat. And we'll see. Does his success? Do the Rams come in differently and say, we got to pay more attention to him? And I think that's the next step for Nolan Smith. If that happens, maybe it doesn't happen because people around the league probably still have, are more concerned with Josh Sweat. And maybe they're more focused on chipping him and he still has those opportunities. But yeah, he's playing really well. But when you ask me, boy, I don't think Jalen Carter gets enough credit, man. Be nice if he could tackle occasionally. He's not having a good tackling year. And I think that's his next step. But man, he disrupts everything. Everything.
So we had was it Jay Gruden, or I think it was Jay Gruden we had on Silly Show a couple of days ago. And he said the only thing that he doesn't like about Jalen Carter, and he said it's tackling? It's not a big knock, but it's something that I think he'll get better at over the years. Is he jumps around blocks, and sometimes you can occasionally get the hole because he's looking to jump around the block.
Who said that?
I think it was Jay Gruden. I think we had a couple.
I used to hear the same stuff about Aaron Donald. Well, sometimes. Well, yeah. Sometimes, but I'd rather have the disruptive guy.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was saying he wouldn't rather have him, but he was saying, you can run on him if you get him in the right spot.
I heard the same thing about Aaron Donald. People mainly people try. I'm not saying Jay. Jay doesn't strike me as that type, but there's a bunch of people that say things to get noticed, and a lot of people would say that about Aaron Donald over the years. And then you go talk to the players and they go, oh, he's pretty freaking good against the run. And that's sort of the same. I don't want to compare Jalen Carter to Aaron Donald, but if I'm looking for one thing, the only thing you need improvement now, I mean, the big thing coming into the season was just being able to play significant snaps. Well, he's done that, and he's done that at a high level. So he's worked on his conditioning and all that. Now he's got to tackle better when he does have the opportunity to tackle. And I think that's probably the last step in his ascent to being, he's already one of the best defensive tackles in football, but to just being that ultra dominant player. I mean, and then, don't discount Milton as well. Milton has had a great season, Milton Williams. And part of the reason is because of all the attention, very similar to what I'm saying with Josh versus Nolan.
Right.
Jalen gets all the attention. Milton takes advantage of it. Josh is getting all the attention. Nolan's taking advantage of it. Works well. Nothing wrong with that, Nothing wrong with that. That's what you want.
No doubt about it, John. We're going to get to our first commercial break here. We're cruising through already 45 minutes into the show. I didn't realize we were that far into it already. We have Ed Kratz. I mentioned that. Ed Kratz is coming up at 9:20, so I can't wait to talk to Ed. He will return to Birds 365 today. He's had a busy couple of months. He's been a world all these world travelers we got on here, Johnny Mac, in the middle of
Martin Frank's a world traveler. He's always going somewhere in the off season.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot of world travelers. I'd rather go to Key West or San Diego.
I've been to Key West one time.
No, I've never been there. I want to go there. Colin always talks about it.
I'm very curious to see what you think, because I went to Key West excited, and on the plane ride out of there, all right, I remember saying in the airport, great time, a lot of fun, everybody, because I was there for my brother's his bachelor party right before his wedding. So I'll never come back.
Really?
I'll never go back.
Well, there might be at this stage.
You get the hell out.
Like I just want, there might be too much partying at this stage, but back in my younger days, like you are, maybe. If I did go, I just want to relax. Not for the Mardi Gras type stuff.
No, you can find that down there.
But Colin, Colin always goes down. Colin Thompson always goes down there. He's got a football camp down there. I can't believe there's enough people.
Yeah, see, it depends, I think, where you are. I was like right in the heart of like the party central, basically.
Yeah, yeah, I would.
But I like the key, just all the keys. Some of the Isla Mirada. I'd like to go to some of them, but anyway, we'll talk.
I always love San Diego. I mean, I'm saying, but San Diego's turning into a shithole. Evidently,
Yeah.
I saw some sort of documentary on San Diego. My God, what are they doing to San Diego? How do you make San Diego into a shithole? But evidently they're trying to. Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
Out there, no doubt about it. All right, Johnny Mac, we'll get to our first commercial break here. John, by the way, you should go over to out west. I think you'd like out west if you like outdoors. Montana, Utah, I like those. Those are cool places. But we got a bunch of super chats. Let me read a couple of them, and then we're going to get to our break. I didn't realize we got so many great supers this morning. Thanks everybody for all the support. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Don't forget to hit that like button. All right, appreciate you guys. It's good to hear. Send more snacks. I like that name. Eagles fan, thank you guys for the best coverage of the team. I've been an Eagles fan for 17 years. This platform is my main source of reliable, unbiased news. Look at that. Appreciate that.
Nice. That's what I shoot for.
Yeah. What MA is what? Massachusetts, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Massachusetts Eagles fan. That's pretty cool. Send more snacks. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that comment, and we appreciate your support and viewership of the channel. Brandon Lewis checks in with another 20. Thank you, guys. All-time great Eagles scapegoats. Donovan McNabb, Doug Peterson, Luis Castillo, Mike Groh, Press Taylor, 2020 season medical staff, Marty Morningweg, Sean McDermott, Sean Desai, Brian Johnson, and Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, I would. It's Juan Castillo. Luis.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I went to school. I went to high school with Juan Castillo's son. He was the quarterback of the football team.
Yeah, well, that was a weird Andy Reid hiring. I mean, that was weird. Good offensive line coach making him a defensive coordinator. You don't see that happen. That almost had to bail. Yeah, I mean, a lot of fans, Donovan was great, but he didn't win. So a lot of fans are going to blame the quarterback if you don't win the final game. The coaches, I mean, Groh and Taylor were the medical staff is a good one. Marty, Sean, Ryan Johnson, certainly. That last year's offense was better than this year's offense, to be honest.
Right.
And Brian got the shit for that. He landed on this beat.
I think we can take Press Taylor off this list. Press Taylor has now gone down with Doug again another time. What's infatuation with Press Taylor? I'm not really sure.
Well, it's funny. I told that story on the show before. Doug didn't even hire Press Taylor. Press Taylor was, a very young guy, a brother of Zach Taylor. He was actually a Chip Kelly guy, and the organization loved him. Oh, he's going to be the next bright offensive mind. And, all of a sudden Doug buys into that, and they're like, oh, he's a dummy. I'm like, what is it? So, I talked about it this week. For some reason, we brought up the Philly special. He's the one who found the Philly special on a Minnesota-Chicago meaningless Week 18 tape. Chicago ran it. Press Taylor found it. They put it in the offense. I don't know how many people know that or remember it. It was certainly reported at the time. Not only me, many people. And Doug wanted to make him offensive coordinator, and they said no. But that was more of, Jeffrey had enough, and he sort of like what he did with Nick last year. Well, you got to go outside the organization. You need new ideas. And Doug wanted to elevate Press to be offensive coordinator, and he wanted to either Matt Burke or Corey Unlin to be the defensive coordinator. And Jeffrey put his foot down. And Doug said, all right, I'm out. And that's sort of what happened there. But I don't even know if Press was that much of a scapegoat, to be honest, because he never got to the point of that was more about Doug than Press. Mike Rowe was certainly the scapegoat.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. We got more super chats. We will get to each and every one. I appreciate all of you guys. Let's get to our commercial break here. I want to thank David Blaylock for becoming a member. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that very much. Thanks for your support of the channel, and good to have you involved here on the channel as a member now. So thank you for that. Let's get to our commercial break. Before I do it, I want to tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. I've been telling you about them all season. Have you went and signed up yet? Have you taken the odds that the Eagles will be in the Super Bowl? I don't know what they are right now, but I would go and deposit using the promo code YouTube150, get my deposit bonus, and put the wager on the Birds going to the Super Bowl. You can see the promo code there. It's YouTube150. It gives you 150%, and you get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. We'll be back in 3 minutes, everybody, on Birds 365.
Ignite your nights